KwaZulu-Natal Premier Thami Ntuli has announced the launch of the KZN Climate Change and Sustainability Council that's due to start work in the next month. Its purpose is to address issues of climate change in the province. Now, this announcement comes after the province was recently hit by heavy snowstorms that shut down Van Reenen's Pass. In 2022, floods and mudslides killed over 400 people in the province. We're now joined by the KwaZulu-Natal Premier Thami Ntuli this evening. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time, Premier. You've reaffirmed the provincial government's commitment to addressing the climate crisis. Of course, it's an announcement which comes after your province was recently hit by heavy snowstorms, shutting down Van Reenen's Pass, people having to sleep in their cars. What approach are you taking to mitigate the effects of the drastic weather changes?
On this, a good evening to yourself and to the viewers at home. Well, as the Province of KwaZulu-Natal, in our briefing today, we've unpacked our approach to mitigate the pre- and post factors of the climate change. One being the awareness to our society at large of the circumstances which are abnormal, which we are faced with, especially encouraging that even the announcements about the weather should be really adhered to when there are warnings should be adhered to. However, we also of the view that research needs to be advanced to ensure that we explore the areas of technology that can assist in mitigating the issues of climate change, and even encouraging government, the provincial government and local government, to budget for the climate change. Like you recall that recently in the floods that took place in eThekwini, in Ladysmith, there was an issue of the storm water pipes, which could not, in fact, help during the floods. So budgeting for the aging infrastructure, in particular, that is related to these disasters, will assist. And even the issue of this pluma, wherein even the traditional leadership, when they allocate land for building houses, ought to understand the importance of this pluma that will ensure that they are not on the flooding, in fact, area. To ensure that people, where they are building their houses, they build in a safe environment. But we believe a dialogue is very important with all the stakeholders, including the businesses, making a call to private sector to collaborate in funding the aging infrastructure so that it is repaired and maintained for the purposes of ensuring that whenever we're stricken by the disaster or the climate change, we're able, in fact, to survive.
Yeah.
Like on the issue of the snow that you saw recently.
If you'll allow me, we'll touch on the snow in a moment, but just looking back to the tragic devastation of the 2022 floods, what that revealed was that whatever you may have thought you had in place failed, because, I mean, hundreds of people died, even in the municipality that's most aware of the climate change risks. Talk to us a little bit about your efforts to bolster the province's climate response, because the early warning systems on floods are always there, but a lot more needs to be done, because what isn't always there is the climate hazard literacy, people's understanding of what to do when these disasters strike. And you speak about how announcements should be adhered to, but it's all very well to make these announcements, but people's understanding is also another area that needs to be looked at.
That's why, Mpo, I started with the issue of the importance of the awarenesses and the dialogue, which has to be taken to the down levels, even to the rural communities, so that we understand the reality that we are faced with now as the province, that climate change is imminent, and we have seen many disasters taking place in our province, which is the evidence In fact, for the people of KwaZulu-Natal, you don't need to tell a story that they don't know about the impact of climate change. Because they've experienced it. For us to do now is the issue of the sustained dialogue to ensure that even at schools, the subjects around the issues of climate change, they're an issue of attention to put most of the thing aside and have an emphasis on the tragedy that we are actually faced with, which is catastrophic. I think that will actually assist us to ensure that everyone is aware and to ensure that the law enforcers, they assist whenever the warnings, weather warnings are made that there will be snow. The issue, people are not encouraged to drive on the roads. The law enforcers in the road to assist in ensuring that the adherences to the guidance are actually observed.
So how are you going to ensure adaptation essentially becomes everyone's problem? I mean, we know that President Cyril Ramaphosa, for one, has signed the climate change bill, and part of that bill speaks to the provinces and municipalities' new range of obligations in terms of climate change. What has been noted, of course, is that the Act doesn't expressly speak about the financial support that would be required. The details there are still sketchy. You've spoken a great deal about collaboration and how that will help. But in terms of adaptation, people knowing what to do when disasters strike. I mean, the heavy snowfall is also one example of really just getting a sense of what to do in such a situation.
You see, the Department of Water, which normally coordinates on issues around the disasters in our province, will be embarking on a program that will ensure that all the leaders of the society, they are aware of the current challenges which are imposed by the climate change, so that they will be driving actually the dialogue I mentioned and the awareness in their communities, and ensure that a discussion is advanced towards ensuring that we live in an environment that will not expose us to dangers whenever there are, or easily expose us to dangers whenever there are problems of which are caused by the actually climate change.
Very well. Perhaps, of course, thank you so much for your time. Let's leave it there for now, as, of course, you speak there, KwaZulu-Natal Premier Thami Ntuli, speaking about the province's plan when it comes to climate change.